Hello and welcome all you RoM Sandboxers out there. This is the RoM Sandbox ClashCast, Episode 3. I'm Atro, here with Murc.
Greetings all.
So on today's episode, it's really a two-part episode. The title is How to Train Your Dragon. So really what we want to do here is we want to, because there's so many comments, I've had issues with it too, of dragons just being dumb and going the wrong way. And so we're going to give you some tips on how to actually get dragons to do what you want to do, and how to get some different 3-star strategies that we've kind of researched. It's been a while since we've done a ClashCast, but I think the Christmas break was good. I know for me and the gem boost, I was doing a lot of raiding over the break.
Yeah, those 1 gem boosts are certainly a great value. You should definitely take advantage of them whenever you can. Kind of underrated, being able to boost the Barracks, the Barbarian King, and the Spell Factory, all for 1 gem each, and get those 4 times recovery, 4 times training, 4 times spell creation. I know there were a couple of times with nothing better to do that I was just raiding for pretty much 2-3 straight hours in a row, but not quite like Atro. Atro, I think, broke the system, didn't you?
I did break the system. Actually, what I was doing was one night I was sitting around and I had my iPad up and I had the game up, and I was watching some TV just because I wanted to preserve all my resources. So I was watching TV, had ClashCast up, made sure I was moving the screen around a little bit in between raids, and I got to the point where I got a message that said your villagers are tired out and need a few minutes to recover, and it kicked me off the game. So don't raid for 12 straight hours, folks, or whatever it was. I don't know what the time was, but it was a long time. So on this episode, this is part 1 of two parts. We'll go over some war recaps. It's been a while. We've had at least, I think it's 10 wars since our last ClashCast, and 1 war just finished this morning that we'll cover on the next episode. Then we'll go over some strategies of how to train your dragon. So there's 3 main strategies, 3 main types of strategies, and 4 main attack plans that you can use with dragons. And then we'll talk about some Town Hall 9 upgrades. Both Murc and I decided we were going to hit the upgrade button to Town Hall 9 at the same time. We'll talk about our upgrades. And a couple other folks in the clan have asked, hey, what should I do when I get to Town Hall 7 or 8? So we can kind of touch on that as well. And then we'll wrap it up and we'll let you know what's going on the next episode. So recent wars, this is from our last ClashCast where we had just finished the White Lions War, so we had a little rough patch there where we had lost 2 of 3. One of the clans was called the 47 Gods, and they got 80 stars on us.
Yeah, that was a difficult war. They had a lot of very, very strong players, obviously significantly stronger than we were. If you look at our offensive output, though, it was pretty good. We had 69 stars, which is a little bit above our average. So it wasn't really an issue with us being able to score stars on them. It was more of an issue of our defenses just weren't up to par against the kind of troops that they were bringing.
Yeah, exactly. And so overall, we're 6-3 since ClashCast 2 and 10-4 since the ClashCast debut. So again, I don't know, correlation implies causation. But
well, we're actually 7-3 now with that
right.
last war just haven't finished.
Mm-hmm. So this is the first screen. If you go to, on this next one, it shows you from the Murc war up. It doesn't include our most recent war, but so we're going to go over our most recent victory and our most recent defeat. So again, not including this war we just finished, but this was our war against the Bavaria players. This was a very weak clan. I mean, we scored 71 stars. That's pretty good for us.
Oh, absolutely. And if you look at their score, they only had 45. This was a clan, if I'm correct about this one, they started off with multiple attempts at the lower end of our clan and had 4 or 5 instances where someone in their high 20s attacked someone in our low 20s and couldn't actually take them down.
Yeah, so that one was really good all around. I think we had used 55 of 60 attacks, so everybody should have gotten a lot of loot during that war.
Yeah, it's definitely a profitable war for us.
Yep. And our most recent loss was against Dienforma. I don't know how to say that, but so we lost 64-73. Had a couple less attacks than normal, and in fact, they only used 51 attacks, which just shows you the strength of their overall clan. And they got into the low 70s, which is a little tough for us to beat. I think our high is what is our high? 72 or 73, maybe
somewhere in that range.
So that would be pushing it for us to get all the way up there. So, and if you go on the next screen, I just have a little picture here of a tale of 2 wars. So these are the 2 wars, and it just kind of highlights this. This isn't to say anything about the defenses of our top guys, but it just shows when your top does not compare well with their top, it makes it hard to really win.
Yeah, if you look at the loss against the Informa, you can see out of our top 5 town halls, you can see there were only 4 stars left. So there's 15 available stars there. 11 stars were captured, only 4 were left on the table. Compare that to the win against Bavaria players. We went 15 for 15 as far as protecting the stars, and in fact, they didn't even make an attempt on 3 of our top 5 guys. The 2 they did attack, they got no stars. It was going to be a rough road for the Bavaria players the entire time, and the results of the war kind of bore that out.
And you can even see at the very bottom of that picture on the left, they also took a shot at me and didn't get any stars. So 18 out of 18 stars they missed on the top 6.
Yeah, it's difficult to get a ton of stars against the top 5 of a clan, but you have to get some. If you're going to go 0 for 15, 0 for 18 on the top 5 or 6 players in a clan, you're not going to win.
Yeah, and we're going to be able to get some stars at the bottom to make up for that. So, all right, so let's get into our major topic for this episode and next episode. So, with dragon strategies, again, a lot of people are having issues with dragons going the wrong way. So this episode and the next are going to attempt to try and help people rein in that strategy, really path the dragons where you want to, use some funneling techniques. And so there's 3 main strategies and 4 main attack profiles, and I'll kind of explain. So in this episode, we're going to go over the 11 Light strategy and the 8-13 Dragoon. So 11 Light is 10 inventory dragons, 1 clan castle dragon, 3 lightning spells. The 8-13 Dragoon, that's 8 dragons, 8 balloons in inventory, 5 level 6 clan castle balloons, and 3 lightning. So the 8-1-3 is 8 dragons, 13 balloons, and then 3 lightning spells. And then the 105 Dragoon, there's 2 strategies here. There's a traditional and an inverted strategy based on the layout of the air defenses. And so that's 10 inventory dragons, 5 level 6 clan castle balloons, and then a mix of rage and heal spells depending on the base layout. And that's where you get your traditional versus your inverted.
And one thing that we should point out right here at the beginning is that these strategies are primarily for taking down level 8 town halls. The idea is that you're going to be facing 3 air defenses. If you're going after a level 7 town hall, you can still use these strategies. They should, in fact, be more effective due to the fact that you'll face 1 less air defense. If you take one of these strategies against a level 9 or a level 10 town hall that has the 4th air defense, you're probably going to need to tweak it in order to get the maximum effectiveness.
And the other idea, not only going over these strategies, which are ones that we use at Town Hall, we're almost max level Town Hall 8, but when you use... It's more of the process of how you start an attack that's really going to help you, whether you have 200 capacity in your army camps or only 180 or 160. Use this and kind of scale it and use the process. So the first one we're going to go over is the 11 Light. So you use this strategy when 2 of the 3 air defenses are tight, so within 5 tiles of each other. So if you look at a map and you kind of count from end to end, if the ADs are within 5 tiles, but the 3rd AD is further out, say it's not in a perfect triangle, say it's a little further out or it's off center somewhere, you can use this strategy. And the overall process here is you want to use your lightning spells to blow up the air defense that leaves the 2 tightest ADs together. So the reason you do that is because if you have an AD if you say you blow one of the 2 that's tight, you're going to... Okay, you should have no problem getting that 2nd AD, but as your dragons move in, they're going to hit all of these buildings in the middle before they get to that AD that's further out, and they're going to have an issue with being shot at from an air defense for 20-30 seconds. Whereas if you blow the AD that's furthest out, you're going to interact with the other 2 that are in the base earlier. There should be less of set of defenses. You have more control over your dragons in the early game, and then you should take those 2 ADs out with the 3rd one that you've already blown, and then it's just a cleanup exercise. There should be, unless you get really, really unlucky or your dragons really go haywire, shouldn't be a problem. So first step for this, use the lightning spells to blow the AD. You want to draw attack planning lines, and we'll tell you this is something new that we haven't really touched on before, and we'll kind of go over how to do that. Then you want to deploy what are called dragon cutters. So this is probably the most important step, is having the dragons out there to kind of cut through the base.
Right, and what Atro means by that, we get a lot of complaints about dragons being dumb, dragons going the wrong way. The dragon will generally attack the first thing that gets in its field of view. The idea of the cutters is the cutters take out some of that extraneous, some of those extraneous buildings, some of those extraneous pieces of someone's base, and keep a nice narrow field of view for the remaining dragons so that they go in a line, they go into tight formation, and they wipe out things in a more efficient manner.
Right. So once you deploy your dragon cutters, you're going to let them hit a couple buildings. You're going to deploy the rest of your attack dragons along the attack line that you've sort of invisibly drawn. And then you're going to save your Barb King and use it as a trimmer, and we'll kind of go over what a trimmer is. It's similar to what a cut dragon is going to do, but it's going to help you on the outside edges.
One other important piece of this, if you reached a point where you can build 10 or 11 dragons and keep them in your inventory, you've probably upgraded your lightning spell pretty high. But if you haven't, it will take you all 3 lightning spells to wipe out an air defense, and your lightning spells need to be at least level 4. 3 level 3 lightning spells, you're probably maxing out at a level 2 or a level 3 air defense. You really need to get up to level 4 and ideally level 5 if you want to start taking down some of those level 5 and level 6 air defenses that might be in your way.
Yep, good point. All right, so let's get into one of the attacks. This is during one of our wars against the Bavaria players. So when you look at this map, the first thing you want to do is with dragon attacks. And when you look at a base, you kind of want to figure out, you want to plan out anyway, but in terms of if you're using this 11 light strategy, so if you look at the 3 air defenses that are there are 2 that are towards the bottom and the right that are tight. So if you would account from the edge of each air defense, you would find that there's only 5 tiles in between the 2 where that mortar is. And then the other air defense is north of the clan castle and is kind of further out. So that it's not in a perfect triangle. So he has his air defenses a little off center. So when you look at this, you're going to kind of take basically what you want to do is when you're looking at all of the bases in a war, before you build your army, you want to look at each of the bases, figure out which strategy you can use, and then build accordingly. All right, so moving on, I've highlighted here that the air defense that you want to blow, that's the one that's the furthest away from the 2 tightest air defenses. And again, that's going to allow you to target those other 2 remaining air defenses early and get them out of the way. So you can see at the 2-minute 21 mark, I'm starting to blow the air defense with the lightning spells, and I've drawn a black line in between the 2 air defenses just to kind of highlight. And this is the first step that you want to do in these strategies. You want to highlight the distance in between the 2 because this is what you're going to draw your attack lines on. So moving on, I've drawn 2 other lines. So I've drawn a perpendicular line straight out in between the middle of the 2 air defenses. This is the attack line. This is the line where you want your dragons to go. Because if they settle right in between those 2 air defenses, they're going to blow up the middle buildings and the storages, and then they're going to branch out to the air defenses.
Absolutely, and you want those dragons to stay together, stay along that line as best they can do, because remember, you're really multiplying the damage by keeping the dragons together. If one dragon's doing 130 damage a second, 10 dragons are doing 1,300 damage a second, which is pretty much one shot, one kill on anything you're going to encounter. The beauty of that is, as you get in close to the air defenses, an air defense is only ever firing at one target at a time. So you might have one poor dragon who's getting his head blown off by the rockets, but the remaining dragons in there with him are wiping out everything in their path. When they get up to the air defense, they'll wipe it out in a matter of 2 to 3 seconds tops.
Yep. So the red line here is the deployment line, and the way you want to draw this is once you've drawn your perpendicular line to your air defenses, think of a circle as 360 degrees, and you want to move out 45 degrees from that perpendicular angle. So that red line represents basically where I'm going to deploy all of my attack dragons to help them funnel into the base. So on the next slide, I've drawn the blue arrows. These are where you're going to deploy your cut dragons. And again, the idea is you want to get rid of that lab, and you want to get rid of the builder hut on the right side and the gold mine, and you want to get those dragons to start basically trimming out the edges, cutting around the edges, so that your dumb dragons, your 10 dumb dragons, or in this case there'll be 8 dragons, will have nowhere else to go but straight down the attack line. So as you can see at the 2-minute 12-second mark, the air defense in the furthest air defense is blown up, and I've deployed 2 cut dragons here, one at the lab and one at the in between the mine and the builder hut. So we can on the next slide, the dragons go back one. Sorry, I think.
Yeah, this one right
here.
here.
Yeah. So on the next slide, you can see I just deployed right along that deployment line the rest of my 8 dragons. And what you can see is a couple buildings on the outside have been destroyed, so those dragons have nowhere to go but straight.
And what you see, if you look at the time, you've got 1 minute and 58 seconds, and then by the time you get to 1 minute and 52, the dragons have basically wiped out that first line. There's a couple of storages that are left. They're about to fall. You can see that they've already taken some damage. But again, keeping that group of dragons together, they do a lot of damage in a very short period of time.
And the other thing that you want to do in this scenario with the 11 light is you also want to make sure that you're drawing out the clan castle units. You want as many dragons as possible to interact with those clan castle units so that you don't get a couple dragons getting destroyed by wizards somewhere random in the base. So you can see here at 152, the dragons are still following a path. They're going to spread out just based on the, how they actually attack. But the closer they can get to those air defenses quicker, the easier this attack's going to be. So the minute 41 mark, the second AD goes down, and there's one still to go, but the dragons are still tight along that attack line path.
And as you can see behind them, they've wiped out everything that they've flown over to this point. They've done it in a pretty quick manner. We're only 17 seconds in from where we started, and they've wiped out, it looks like about a dozen buildings so far.
Yep. So at the 1 minute 33 mark, the dragons have start to spread, but as you can see, 83 goes down, and this is now just a cleanup exercise. There's nothing in the base that's going to be able to knock out the 8 to 9 dragons that are left. As you notice, though, I haven't deployed the Barb King, and this is intentional. It won't matter in this attack, but he does have a really important role to play. So go to moving on. At a minute 26, I've dropped the Barb King on the left side to take out those army camps, and actually I dropped him a little too late. But what you want to do is you want to take that Barb King on the outside as a trimmer. He's going to trim the outside edges so that dragons don't wander to the left and go out to random non-defensive buildings. You want to keep them as tight as possible. So this is why you deploy the Barb King, and he works on the outside to help the dragons, keep the dragons inside the base.
Right. And a large part of the reason you want to do that, when you look at defensive structures for a dragon, there's only a few things that can hit them. There's an air defense that can hit them, wizard towers, and archer towers. If you're going after a level 9, then there might be expos, or a level 10, there might be inferno towers. But here at a level 8, there's really only 3 types of things that can get the dragons. The faster the dragons wipe out those archer towers, air defenses, and wizard towers, the less chance there is of anything being left that can actually take them out.
All right. And there's only a certain number of the big air bombs, seeking air mines that you can even get at level 8. So only 2 seeking air mines, or 1?
2 seeking air mines at level 8.
2 seeking air mines. So at worst, you might lose 2 dragons from those if you get the seeking air mines and a couple wizard tower hits or something. So.
Right. The air bombs themselves against dragons, even with a maximum upgraded air bomb, it's not that useful. All 4 of those hitting a single dragon won't take it out.
Right. Exactly. So moving on, 1 minute 14 seconds. You can see why deploying the Barb King when I did was a little late. This dragon on the bottom left is actually wandering. If this was a really close attack and I only had 3 or 4 dragons left, this, maybe even, well, probably less, 2 or 3 dragons left, this may have actually cost me, but it didn't in this sense. So it's kind of hard when you're watching to make sure your strategy works in terms of the middle of the base, but at the same time, be mindful on the edges, so that you can at least deploy the Barb King there to trim, keep the dragons inside. It didn't hurt me here, but it could hurt you in other types of attacks. At the 59-second mark, the base, I'm 2-starred this base, which I'm already happy with, but I think if I did the count right, I think I have like 8 dragons left in this. Maybe it's 6, I don't know, but that's a lot of dragons left for an 11 dragon attack.
Oh, absolutely. And your only real question at this point is whether or not you have enough time to get that builder hut that's out there in the corner, which again is a good reason to have your Barbarian King wandering around the outside of the base. Barbarian King and dragons move at about the same speed, but what you'd really like to see in this situation is the Barbarian King wander up, wipe out that builder hut while the dragons are taking care of the main part of the base and ensure that 3rd star.
And the other nice thing is, I haven't used the Barb King's rage ability yet, which speeds him up. So that's also something you can keep in reserve. You don't have to hit it, until you really need it. And if you don't use it, who cares? It's not a big deal. You 3-starred somebody. So I'm going to the wrap up. 100% used the 11 dragons. Had 5 archers in the clan castle. And used the 3 level 5 lightnings. This was a really easy attack to do. So if you can go to the next slide, I have just a recap. So again, 11 light is when you use when two of the three ADs are tight within 5 tiles and the other AD is further out. You're going to, step 1, use your lightning spells to blow the air defense that leaves the 2 tightest ADs together. You want to draw your attack planning lines. That's just going to help you out. You're going to deploy your dragon cutters outside of the deployment lines. You're going to deploy your attack dragons along the deployment line, and then you're going to use your Barb King as needed as a trimmer on the edges. Anything else to add to wrap that one up?
No, I think 11 light is probably the most straightforward, and it might even be the most effective when you're talking about level 8 town halls.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so second strategy is the 8-13 Dragoon. This is what you want to use when 2 or more of the air defenses are gapped by 7 or more tiles. So this is when they're a little more spread out. This is another 3 lightning spell attack, but you're going to use 8 dragons, 8 inventory balloons, 5 level 6 balloons. That means getting Heisenberg or Jackson to give you some level 6 balloons in the clan castle, and you're going to deploy them in a certain order to make sure that you... because I think people have been deploying balloons incorrectly. I know I did before reading up a little bit on it. So,
yeah, an important thing to keep in mind, and this applies when we get in a future ClashCast to get to go wipes. You want to have the thing with the most hit points out in front, and you want it to take the fire away from other units. So when you're going to deploy balloons along with your dragons, you want the dragons out front because the dragons can take a lot of damage and let the balloons come in from behind and do a lot of the cleanup work. If you send the balloons out ahead, the balloons are going to get wiped out pretty quickly, and then your dragons are just going to start getting shot, and you're going to have a much lower overall damage than you would have had.
And people don't realize that balloons are really specialized units. I mean, they're sniping units. They go straight to air defenses, but they're very weak, but they're very powerful. It's almost like a wizard in the air. The wizards are easy to destroy on the ground, but if you get them in behind something that's a tank, they'll just destroy everything in their path. So,
very good analogy.
All right, so let's go over the process here. Again, you're going to use your lightning spells to blow up an AD, but in this case, you want to look for the AD that has the hardest path for balloons to get to. So that's looking at all defensive structures that balloons are going to stop at and almost like counting to see, okay, if there's 5 in between this air defense and 4 in between this other air defense, I should probably go with the one that's harder for the balloons to get to. You're going to draw, once you blow that air defense, you're going to draw your attack lines based on the second hardest air defense to blow up. So again, you're trying to get to that hardest AD that's left first, and then hopefully everything kind of follows to the other AD. Same here, you're going to deploy your dragon cutters. You're going to deploy your attack dragons. In this case, you'll have 6. You're going to deploy your inventory balloons after the opponent's clan castle is empty. And this is because you don't want wizards going around hitting balloons in a pack.
No, absolutely not. If you get a group of 5 or 6 wizards that wander out of the clan castle, it's going to take them exactly 1 shot to wipe out all your balloons. Now, the nice thing with balloons is when a balloon crashes, it does do some damage, but that is minimal compared to what happens when the balloon's actually sitting over a target dropping bombs on it.
Yep. And then last but not least, you're going to deploy your clan castle balloons when the last AD engages the dragons. And the reason you want to do this is as soon as that air defense starts firing at dragons, it's not firing at your balloons. So that's when you drop your balloons, let the balloons come in behind and destroy that last air defense. So let's look at this attack. When you look at the base, you can count the number of tiles in between. The 2 of these air defenses are outside of 7 tiles of each other. So this is definitely a potential for an 8-13. You could probably use an 11 light here, but there's a couple more rows of defensive buildings here than in the last one. So some of these are interchangeable, but this was a decent example.
And one thing to keep in mind here, you'll see this is a level 9 town hall that hasn't built its 4th air defense. So we cautioned at the beginning, when you get to level 9 town halls, you might need to tweak these strategies. If you look and you see there's only 3 air defenses, you don't need to worry about the level of the town hall.
Yep. Okay, so again, I've highlighted here which air defense you want to blow, and this is the hardest one because it's basically 3 levels of buildings, plus there's other defensive buildings scattered around it that the balloons might wander off to. So you could pick another air defense. You could pick the top one, but I like to pick, if I'm going to look at a base and blow up an air defense, I'm going to try and, if they're about tied, I'll pick the one that would be closest to the last one. And the reason you do that is because you don't want you want your dragons to have to do as minimal work as possible, and your balloons minimal work to be able to get to those air defenses. Once those are down, game over. So once I've blown that first AD, we're going to draw the attack line. And again, what you're doing here is you're drawing a line out from the AD that you want to target, and then your deployment line is going to be, it's not really 45 degrees in this case, but it's going to be slanted off of that because you want to basically funnel right into that first air defense, and then from there, your balloons will help you get the last air defense as well. So I've drawn here on the two blue arrows. This is where you're going to deploy your cut dragons. These are going to get rid of any obstacles in between and help you go right to that air defense first.
Yeah. Now, one thing to point out, you won't see it in this example, but when you look at the base, be aware of what's sitting out at the corners. That top left cut dragon, there was some danger of that top left cut dragon turning around and going after the gold storage instead of going after that first elixir collector. In this case, it didn't happen, but bear in mind that you've got to drop the dragon closest to the thing you want it to attack, otherwise it may change directions on you.
Yep. Okay, so you can see I've deployed my cut dragons here at the minute 49 mark after blowing that AD on the right. So they're going to start carving me a path. I want to go straight over that army camp into the cannon and the archer tower. And then once that first air defense starts to engage my dragons, which in this case are acting as golems or giants, they're going to be the tanks of this. Now they're very powerful in the air, but they're really going to be the tanks for my balloons. So you can go, yep. So next slide, I've dropped along my deployment line the rest of my dragons, which is 6 dragons. So now everything is moving straight in the direction that I want it to move. Those cutters are moving outwards, so they're going to continue trimming outwards where I expected they would, and the other dragon's going to have nowhere to go but straight down the line.
Yeah, at the 139 mark, you can see that that army camp is destroyed and the dragons are continuing to move forward. You can see the wizard tower and the archer tower are engaged in separate targets, which is a good thing. You don't want fire to be concentrated in any one place if you can avoid it. But you can see pretty clearly there aren't a whole lot of options for that core 6 dragon group to go.
And the other thing here is just, this is where, as an attacker, you need to be patient in terms of not just dropping everything at once. You need to let your dragons do a little work until that first air defense engages the dragons. Once it locks onto a dragon, it won't unlock from a dragon until it's dead, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So on the next slide, I've circled now that this air defense is now engaging, and that's when you want to drop your inventory balloons. So once it starts firing at those dragons, you're going to want to drop the balloons. So basically right behind the dragons are where you drop the first 8 inventory balloons. Do not drop your clan castle balloons. Those are going to be a different purpose and a very important purpose later on. Okay, so everything is kind of at the 1 minute and 15-second mark. Everything is kind of moving into the base. You can see I'm almost near the town hall. There's a couple bombs going off. The balloons are still engaged, blowing up different structures. But you can see that last air defense is now, in this case, it is shooting at the balloons, but it's shooting at something that are not my level 6 balloons.
Right. It's shooting at the weaker balloons, which is what you want it to do. You can see those clan castle balloons. They're going to come in. They're going to wipe out that cannon. It's going to take them roughly 2 seconds to wipe out that cannon, and then they're going to move in and they're going to attack that air defense. The other thing you can see, going back to what Atro said earlier about engaging the clan castle, at the bottom of the screen, there are multiple dragons engaging the single dragon, the wizard, and the archer that came out of this clan castle. They're going to make pretty short work of that group and then continue moving forward.
Yep. So the 1 minute, 1 second mark, you can see I've gotten the last air defense. And again, this is going to be just a cleanup exercise. This base is over. Everything's moving now in a line to the right. And I'll be able to, drop my Barb King. I think I ended up dropping it on the right side. I just did that for time purposes so that I could have the Barbarian King start working from right to left, and then that way I can get my balloons and my dragons back over to get the rest of the buildings. And I also, in this case, used it as a distraction for the cannons. I mean, in this case, it didn't really matter, but, you want to try and get the base as quick as possible. So 26 seconds, there's nothing else, there's nothing left over here except for the one 1 gold storage. Now, this wasn't, the 26 seconds was just the length of my attack. I still had almost a minute and a half here, so I wasn't worried about that last gold storage. And you can look at, just going back, I think I counted here, 6 of my dragons are still alive, and all 5 of my level 6 balloons are alive. I mean, that's only a death rate of 25% for dragons. That's really good using this strategy. I mean, stuff could have gone wrong, and I still probably would have 3-starred this base.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this was a very well laid out and very well executed attack. There was literally nothing that Isabel, the defender, could have done to prevent from being 3-starred against this attack. Every single one of the traps was sprung. Every single one of the Teslas, all of the air defenses that remained engaged, and it just didn't make any difference. The dragons and the balloons just swept over them and wiped them off the map.
Yep. So recap. 100% 3-starred. Again, 8 dragons, 13 balloons, 5 of which are level 6, and then 3 lightning spells and a Barb King. Just kind of going over the recap. Again, you want to use this when 2 or more of the ADs are gapped by 7 or more tiles. You're using 3 lightning spells, and again, I already mentioned the attack profile, so you're going to want to request the level 6 balloons.
And right now, I think we've just got 2 players. I think it's just Heisenberg and Jackson that have them, but give Atro and I, a month or so. Once the Town Hall 9 upgrades are done, we still got to go back and upgrade the lab and then somehow get the 6 million in Elixir to actually get those upgrades done. But at some point over the next 4 to 6 weeks, you'll probably be able to get them from us as well.
Yep. And again, the recap of the process. This is a process you're going to want to use for any dragon attack because dragons are dumb. They're going to go random ways. So first, if you're using lightning spells, you want to blow the AD that has the hardest path for the balloons to get to. Draw your attack lines just to make sure you're keeping all the dragons within a tight window. Deploy your cutters, deploy the attack dragons along the deployment line, then deploy all of your inventory balloons after the clan castle empties and that second AD, well, first available AD in this case, is engaging on the dragons, and then deploy your clan castle balloons when the last AD starts to engage your dragons and your inventory balloons. So those are the 2 strategies we kind of went over. We'll go over the 105 traditional versus inverted on the next episode, but that's a good one to use as well. So. Okay, so our final kind of wrap-up topic is just upgrading your town hall and the priorities that you should have when upgrading. So both Murc and I made the decision to hit the button on the same day. So we're both turning over to Town Hall 9 at the same time, and we're going to just kind of maybe go through each of the different types of things that you want to look to upgrade when you upgrade your town hall. So go ahead and give your priority list.
Yeah, one thing to remember is that you're going to be limited by the number of builders that you can engage at any given time. So if you've got 3 builders, you can do 3 upgrades, 4, 4, 5, 5, that kind of thing. The other thing to remember is that certain upgrades allow you to do different things. So my priority with my Elixir, number 1 thing I want to do is get the lab upgraded. Once the lab is upgraded, then I can start moving forward and upgrading my troops, giving me a better attack capability. The longer I wait to upgrade the lab, the longer I'm stuck with my troops, which are basically maxed out right now with the exception of my Valkyrie and my Golem, who, they've got marginal utility at level 1, but I would really like to get up to level 5 minions, level 5 hogs, level 6 giants, those kind of things. That's going to involve getting the lab upgraded right away. As far as gold, at Town Hall level 9, the expos are available. So I'm going to go off and I'm going to build the expos. But this is kind of a unique thing to let Town Hall level 9 getting a new type of weapon. Until you get there, all of your other weapons are going to be more of the same. It's more air defenses, more archer towers, more cannons, whatever it is that you get. The big thing is that with gold, I'm going to look to buy new stuff before I look to upgrade stuff. And the reason for that is when you're upgrading something, it's offline. So if you look at what you can get another wizard tower, you can get another archer tower, you can get another air defense. I'm going to buy those things and start bringing those things up to the new level before I start upgrading my existing ones to make sure that at any point in time I have the maximum number of defensive structures online and ready to go at a high level in case folks are attacking me.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. My priorities are number 1, lab. I ended up buying the 5th builder. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. There are times it's going to help me now because I'm going to have a lot of elixir to burn, but there's only a couple times where I had all 5 engaged at one time. So I think most people will be at 4 or 3. But my priorities with the lab, I want to get the spell factory done with the other elixir that I'm going to have, so I can get that 4th spell. I probably won't be able to get the jump. Well, if I do get it up to that level, I do get instant access to the jump.
Correct.
which will be nice. So I'll get to play around with that. For gold, I'm gonna do both expos as soon as the town hall turns over. And then we didn't talk about the Archer Queen, which we're both going to do with the Dark.
Right. Important thing to remember with the Archer Queen is that she's instantaneous to build, but she does take up a builder if you want to upgrade her. So I'm sitting on roughly 65,000 in Dark Elixir right now, which means I'm going to buy the Archer Queen and immediately upgrade her. That's going to take one of my builders out of commission for 12 hours.
Yeah. And then my next priority are going to be army camps, only because I want to get those extra 5-10 troops to be able to have a bigger attack force. And then, because if I can get 210 guys while I'm upgrading my units to Town Hall level 9 level units, then that's probably what I've kind of reserved that I want to do. But then for Town Hall, guys going to Town Hall level 8, I think we had kind of talked about it in Group Me, but maybe you can just highlight a couple of the things that those guys should be looking for.
Yeah, when you go to Town Hall level 8, what you want to spend your gold on, at least in my opinion, you got to pick up that 4th mortar right away. That's a great thing to have that's available at Town Hall level 8, and you want to pick up the 3rd air defense as soon as you possibly can. There is a wide world of difference in attacking a level 7 Town Hall with only 2 air defenses versus a level 8 Town Hall with the 3rd air defense. As you look around with Elixir, the ability to buy a second Dark Elixir drill at level 8, very important, and you want to upgrade those as quickly as possible. What you find out at Town Hall level 8 is that you will start burning through Dark Elixir like you would never believe, in not just upgrades, but just in your day-to-day attack strategy.
Especially when you get golems and you try and do go wipes, and you have to spend 450 Dark Elixir for one golem.
Exactly.
You could be spending an upwards, if you do 2 go wipes in a war, 1,000 Dark.
Yeah.
Just in the war. Now, hopefully you get more than 1,000 back, but
there is always the danger of actually going Dark Elixir negative on a war. So if you're going up from 7 to 8, look at the mortar, look at the air defense, get your lab upgraded, of course. When you start getting level 5 troops from level 4, there's a massive jump. Level 5 wizard over a level 4 wizard, a level 5 giant over a level 4 giant. There are some big jumps here. And the ability to start upgrading some of your dark troops. When you get your minions up to level 4, you'll look back at level 1 minions and you'll wonder why you ever used them.
yeah, exactly. Last thing I want to talk about with upgrades is, and I've been doing this and so has Murc, look, when you obviously you want to be at max storages, if possible, before the turnover happens to the next level. But what you can also do, what a couple people have talked about, and I'm currently doing, is store Elixir in various places that are outside of just your storages. So you can store in your clan castle up to 1 million gold and 1 million elixir. I actually gave back 200k of gold and elixir from this last war because I stacked 2 wars of worth of clan castle. But if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't have had as much available after everything turns over. So I have both 1 million gold and 1 million elixir in my clan castle, which you can store outside of your storages. The collectors can also hold at max level up to 200k each. So that's another 1.2 million of gold and elixir that you could have this is obviously going from 8 to 9. And then also, if you have a full army built before, you can also park elixir in your barracks. And the way you do that is once you have over 200, you just build a whole nother attack force, and then once the town hall turns over, as long as you haven't used them, you can sell them back and get the elixir back.
Which is also a neat trick when you're going with upgrades that we'll explain in a future ClashCast, but you can actually make a little bit of elixir and dark elixir by timing building your army around when your lab upgrades are done.
Especially at the lower levels where you're going to get you're going to be able to store a lot of guys like in archers, and they jump up from 50 to 100 elixir per. You're going to be able to make a decent amount on those guys. So I think that's kind of all we had for this episode. Again, on part 2, we're going to talk about the other dragon strategy and the 105 traditional versus the 105 inverted. And always, leave us your feedback on YouTube or Group Me or the Clash chat. Let us know what you think, and we appreciate you watching.
It's been a great ClashCast. Glad you guys could join us. Looking forward to the next war. Looking forward to anything that you have.
Yep.
And I think the next time we talk to you, we'll be up at Town Hall Level 9, so we'll have a little bit more to share.
Yep, definitely. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Have a good one, guys.